walking the blue line. He's a St. Louis police officer, 5 years on the force, grew up in St. Louis. Was an African-American police officer. He's now a community activist, but he's written the book, Walking the Blue Line. Get it on Amazon.com. It's a great, interesting read from a voice that hasn't been heard enough. We were talking on the last break about stats and how you get ahead in the police department is through taking drugs off the streets, taking guns off the streets, locking up bad guys. You say that might not be the best way.
No, because that becomes your primary focus, and policing is more than just arresting people. Policing should be, or I believe that it should be an attempt, or should incorporate at least an attempt to help people in general. The number of drug dealers versus the number of citizens who are not selling drugs there's a great disparity between that.
Right.
So most people that police officers come in contact with are not drug dealers. They're not violent criminals. They are not the worst of the worst. But in essence, they may not, or it's not as likely as those citizens will receive the adequate, respectful treatment that they deserve, or the services that they deserve, because the majority of the attention is on how do we arrest drug dealers. I mean, things run in a cycle. Right now it's hotspot policing. I mean, next month it'll be something else. But when all these different things are done, you still have regular citizens who need services, who need, the help of police on just a regular daily basis.
We hear that the police try and do community outreach. They become baseball coaches and softball coaches and life coaches and things like that. Were you, as a St. Louis police officer, encouraged to seek out community stuff like that to sort of engage with the local community?
No, I was not encouraged, and I don't know many officers who are encouraged. There is the opportunity if you are interested in doing those things, but encouraged, no.
No, they're there if you want to, but they don't talk about doing
it.
Right. In the criminal world, and on the Burnt Out Quick Trip, they wrote snitches equals stitches. And in the criminal world, many people don't like to go and testify because when they see a bad guy, because they're afraid. Very similar with the police department, correct?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Again, the majority of police officers are good people who want to do their job and simply go home. Unfortunately, there's a certain element within the police department that goes above and beyond that. I mean, just last week we had here in St. Louis a police officer who pled guilty to giving a drug dealer a shotgun. So those certain elements are around. But in an attempt to be transparent and just to be truthful, I think that opportunity or those type of attitudes can be present in a majority of police officers. So again, a police officer gets used to stopping a person and treating a person a certain way because I'm angry or because I'm mad. It becomes easier to do other greater things that are wrong. And one of the rules on the police department, one of the unwritten rules is you go along with the system and you don't tell on another officer when they do something wrong. You back them up and you just verify whatever it is they said in their report. Sounds like police
listening to you, Terrell Carter. Your book is Walking the Blue Line, TerrellCarter.net. Talking to you and listening to you, a police officer can use their power for good. They can use their power for bad. The community can use their voice for good or their voice for bad, depending on any given day at any given time.
Very true.
So what's the solution?
Number one, I believe that we need to, and this is going to probably sound trite to many people, but we have to start looking at each other as equals. Being a police officer doesn't make me better than the citizens that I patrol, or the citizens that live in the neighborhoods that I patrol. Citizens should be able to see and start seeing police officers as somebody else's husband or wife, son or daughter, see each other as equals and equal pieces to the solution instead of enemies. And that's not going to happen tomorrow because there's years and years of tension. There are too many different things that have happened. But if we can intentionally begin to work to some kind of process where we see each other as equals and understand each other, then that is the beginning of making these relationships better.
Aren't there people, though, in power who excel and who succeed keeping the system the way it is right now?
Yes, there are. I mean, there are people within the police department that excel and who have positions because things are the way they are, and because things are kept the way that they are. There are people within, local government that excel and that live very well because things are the way they are. So another piece to the reality is that everyone that is in power is not necessarily out for the common good or for the greater good.
The book is called Walking the Blue Line. Terrell Carter, you are still friends with many people who you served with in the St. Louis Police Department.
Yes, I am. And actually, 2 of them were willing to be interviewed for the book as well.
Black or white?
I asked a group of multiple officers of multiple races to participate, and some of them did. And
from both white and
from
black.
both white and black, male and female.
Okay, last question for you, and I know we only have a limited amount of time here, but after watching what happened with Darren Wilson and Michael Brown and the riots and the looting and the Justice Department and the Bob McCullough, what do you tell people when they ask you what are your thoughts?
My immediate when people ask me, they usually say, Terrell, you're a former police officer. What do you think happened? And my response is I don't know what happened. I can imagine what happened because I found myself in those very particular situations as well. The only thing is I did not pull my gun to shoot someone. My thoughts are, again, if police officers saw citizens as human beings, as people, you don't see them as an aggravation just because they're walking down the street. And when you roll up to them to tell them to get out of the middle of the street, you don't yell at them, you don't curse them out. And I'm not accusing anyone of having done that. What I'm saying is I can imagine that it probably was not a pleasant conversation when the officer asked the person to get out of the street, and that probably started whatever chain. But
at that point, he knew he had already knocked over the convenience store and was looking for him.
And that's why you have other people, other personnel out on the street at the same time. Instead of trying to be the Lone Ranger who was trying to get the statistic of, I'm the one who caught this guy, I'm the one who brought down this person who knocked over this convenience store, you take the time and observe, because they weren't running. They were walking from all reports.
Right.
You call backup. I have this person in my sights. Here's the description that you all are giving out. This person is right here. Every officer in that vicinity is going to fly lights and sirens to help you.
On the flip side of that, though, Michael Brown shouldn't have gone to the car.
No.
If he would have treated him like a human being and saw him as a real person as opposed to the man.
Yes. But the question that I always bring up when people ask me, though, is I wonder what their relationship was like prior to that event. Had they seen each other in the community on multiple occasions before that?
Right.
Had they had interactions before that, which prompted both of them to be on guard even more so than they typically would?
Terrell Carter, our guest. The book is called Walking the Blue Line. Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com and buy it, and buy multiple copies. TerrellCarter.net also the website. Terrell, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
9:48 here, Big 550 KTRS.